Okay, in this section we're going to discuss inverse of functions. We've got quite a few videos to break up each kind of skill. Right now we're just going to talk about some of the... so the first thing we're going to talk about is inverse of relations. Relations are not functions, they're some sort of pattern, but remember function had to pass that vertical line test. For example, we talked about how one person couldn't have more than one social security number. And here's what I want you to understand real quick, and this you'll see at the tail end of another video, but when we have an inverse, we basically just reverse the process. So if you look at the 2 points, what was xy and its inverse would become yx. We've done a little bit of domain and range at this point. So when we're talking about the inverse, whatever was the range, which is the y values, turns into the domain of the inverse function. By that same rationale, whatever was the domain of the original function is going to become the range. So if we look at these two examples, we have a set of ordered pairs. So first thing we want to do is we want to state whether the relation is a function. So if it's a function, for every x value there's one y value. So each x value has its own y value, right? And we can also plot these and see if it passes the vertical line test. So if I look here, I got 1 paired with a 2, I got a 4 paired with a -2, and I got 3 paired with also a 2. But if you'll notice, think about it graphically also, if you're not sure, 1, 2 is about right here. 4, -2 is about here, and 3, 2 is up here. It would pass a vertical line test. You're only going to hit 1 point. Okay? So now, let's look at its inverse. So the inverse of this, all I'm doing is I am switching the points. And then we got our last point here, which is 2, 3. Shouldn't be in red, sorry about that, but we'll just leave it. And notice here, if we look at this, we have an inverse that is not a function because they have the same x value with a different y value. And so it would fail the vertical line test. Now if we look back at our original graph, and we had the points 1, 2, 4, -2, and then 3, 2. And if you think about if we're switching x and y's, these 2 points are going to rotate. So instead of being horizontal, they're going to end up being vertical, which causes us to fail that vertical line test. So if we want to know whether or not the inverse is a function, we use a horizontal line test, and it would fail. And last but not least, we'll look at b. So to get the inverse, I just switch my coordinates. And you'll notice here that this guy is definitely a function because they have different x values. That's it on just some of the basics with inverses, how we can determine if the inverse is a function. We can look at a graph, or what we did now is we had this horizontal line test. It's just the basic idea of switching coordinates. It gets a little bit more involved, and just keep on watching these videos and you'll be fine.